September 22nd of game week. I'll say that again. It's finally game week. We can all be excited. We got a lot of stuff to get to. We got Lane Kiffin talking about the quarterbacks in this edition of this show. We've got the depth chart, and we're going to talk a little bit about the Florida offense versus the Ole Miss defense and how that might look. So we got a lot of stuff in this show. That later on this week around the SEC is coming back Thursday at 2 o'clock. I'm looking forward to that. Brian Waters from will be on the podcast later in the week as well. So this is kind of building. We're treating this like a real game week, and it's just exciting that it's game week. So today we're going to, let's handle a little business first. Follow us at the Stephen Willis or at the Old Positively on Twitter. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/POMcast. There's a Facebook group in there as well you can join to do discussion things. Subscribe on YouTube and hit the bell for notifications, please. And subscribe to our Twitch channel, or Positively Ole Miss, all one word. Now, if you're more of an audio person, we can do audio only as well through our numerous podcast channels. Currently, we are on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Stitcher, Spotify, and SoundCloud, and TuneIn Radio. And we are waiting for final word on iHeartRadio and Pandora. So that's pretty cool. Basically, wherever you are, we already are. So you don't have to change your behavior in order to consume our media. We are going where you are. We're not asking you to come where we are. It's a pretty cool thing. It's probably the first time this has happened in the history of man, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Anyway, if you have a tip or anything you want to email, hit us up at positivelyolemiss@gmail.com. We have that as well. So, Lane Kiffin yesterday had his press conference, and he was all about the inconsistencies of the quarterback position. And, honestly, just listen to this.
Mock game Saturday, we won. So that was good. Defense played really well. No third down conversions and I think 8 sacks. Offense was up and down, did not play as well as we would like, especially in the second half. So we had a few turnovers and some special teams execution issue, but just remind us we got a lot of work to do. More consistent quarterback play. It wasn't, a bunch of fumbles. We've been pretty good with ball security. It's been interceptions and usually it's been the quarterback. Sometimes maybe a tip pass or something like that, but these are just either inaccurate throws or poor decision making. So we got to get back to playing like we were initially, because the first scrimmage they were both really good.
There you go, Lane Kiffin from his press conference yesterday. Basically, what he is saying is that currently there is not really a consistent quarterback for him to choose from. That's what he's saying at the moment. Now, when all the DBs were out in the first scrimmage and the quarterbacks were completing everything, that's one thing. Everybody looked good. That's going to be the way that happens. When they all came back and SEC defenders were on the other side of the ball, they have both struggled throwing the ball. And I'm going to make an assumption here. with Matt Corral that deals with decision making. Him trying to fit a football in where it has no business going and going to the wrong place with the ball. That was his problem last year. We were hoping that got resolved. We'll see Saturday. But that's something worth keeping an eye on. In this offense, Lane Kiffin, and he has said what he looks for in a quarterback, and part of that is decision making, meaning the ball goes where it's supposed to go. The ball goes where it's supposed to go. There's too much freelancing. Last year, calling your own plays and stuff like that, it's too much freelancing. Lane Kiffin will not go for that, no matter how powerful your arm is. Honestly, that is probably the reason this is still a quarterback competition. This is the reason they're both probably going to play Saturday. I told you on this site, on this podcast, prepare yourself for a 2-quarterback system, at least at the start. You don't have the reps, the decision-making time that you would normally have. Normally, Matt Corral would have progressed through spring and come into fall, into camp with a lead, and then you have like the hours upon hours upon hours in camp for John Rice Plumlee to compete and get back in it, and maybe Matt Corral has a grasp of the offense, or maybe he's doing things a little bit differently. Maybe he's more confident. That's something to keep an eye on. That is a real thing. And remember I said, hope that we find a quarterback. Don't root for a quarterback. Hope that I have a quarterback, or we have a quarterback. Don't root for a quarterback. Because there's so many different factors in this race. And so many things they do well that the other guy does the opposite well. And so many offenses that Lane Kiffin has run that has different types of quarterbacks. He's going to play the guy that doesn't turn the ball over. He's going to play the guy that makes good decisions. It doesn't matter if you have a laser rocket arm. Depth chart coming up, segment 2, Positively Ole Miss.
Only 10% of us get enough daily exercise.
And that number is dropping.
Nearly 30% of us are overweight or obese.
We spend 6 hours a day in front of a screen. As a result, we now have a shorter life expectancy than our parents.
But give us the right start in sports, and we'll never stop.
Learn how at active4life.ca.
Hey, this is Stephen Willis from Positively Ole Miss. We're almost done with this break. We'll be back with good information quite soon.
The military has been in every generation of my family, and so has VA. It wasn't easy for my dad after Vietnam, but VA helped him and my mom get the home they'd always wanted. My grandpa's been coming to VA since World War II. They even helped him lay to rest one of his battle buddies from Normandy. And me, I followed in their footsteps and served with pride. And now that I'm out of the military, the GI Bill's helping me with school. Every generation of my family has served, and VA has served us all.
Welcome back, Stephen Willis, the POMcast. Tuesday, September 22nd, Florida game week. Here we go. Hey, I just want to remind y'all again to follow our Twitter page at the Stephen Willis at Old Positively. Like us on Facebook. A lot of y'all are doing that already. Thank you very much. At facebook.com/POMcast. And subscribe on our YouTube, which will be searchable. And we have a little thing on our YouTube page where greatest Ole Miss games are there. Most of 2019 is there. And we're going to have an on-demand section on that website with on-demand games from 2020. So it's a place you can go. So you might want to subscribe now. That's all I'm saying. And all the videos we produce are there as well. So subscribe, hit the bell. You'll be notified whenever a new video goes up, produced by me. Whenever the playlists that have the greatest games in that, you will not be able to see that. But that is okay. So we had Lane Kiffin and quarterback competition. Lane Kiffin and depth chart. In the first segment, he talked about that a little bit. Otis Reese still has not been cleared by the NCAA, and Dean Leonard is being held up at the SEC. Although he got NCAA clearance, and he's probably going to get clearance from the SEC this week, as I expected. Because once the SEC is involved, they kind of just rubber stamp it. They do whatever the NCAA says. So, what did we learn yesterday about the depth chart? First of all, congratulations to Reese McIntyre and Jeremy James for winning the guard positions, both of them redshirt freshmen. They have a coming out party scheduled for Saturday. Nick Broker at left tackle, Royce Newman at right tackle. Ben Brown has moved to center. Royce Newman is the only senior on the offensive line. At right tackle, Eli Acker and Cedric Melton are over there. I started with the O-line because it's kind of a important group, but it's one that gets forgotten. It's easily forgotten by the uneducated, and I wanted to give them their due. At left tackle, Hamilton Hall is the backup, and Tobias Braun, the freshman, is also in the mix at third string. Now, if you move to the skill players, Jonathan Mingo at wide receiver. The other starting receiver that we were wondering about is Dontario Drummond. Kenny Yeboah is in the mix at tight end. He's going to start there. Got an oar at the quarterback position, Matt Corral or JRP. We got an oar at the running back position, Jerry and Ely and Henry Parrish. We heard about Henry Parrish flashing, but not that much. That's something to keep an eye on. It might be a situation where he's just so far ahead of the next person competing, which in this case would be Snoop Connor. He's just separating himself. And remember, through all of this, there are no such thing as a non-system player. No matter which system you run, there's a certain player that fits it. So movement on the depth chart, whenever you switch from one system to another, is inevitable. You have kids that are going to be good in your system. You have kids that are going to be bad in your system. And that's the reason that the no-fault transfer rule should happen, because that system is pretty much the most important thing, especially when it comes to college football. All right, on defense, Tarikas Tisdale, defensive end, Ryder Anderson, 3 technique, nose guard, KD Hill. Buck, Tavius Robinson or Sam Williams. That's a good problem to have. You want them both to play. Will, Lakia Henry, Mike, Jaquez Jones, Star, Dalen Gill. That's kind of a little bit of a surprise over Jalen Stanley, but good for him. Kedron Smith at cornerback. At strong safety, Jalen Jones. At free safety, you got an or AJ Finley or Jalen Jordan, who changed his number this year to 2. And the other cornerback, Ja'Cory Hawkins. I don't know which of the cornerbacks Dean Williams will fit in if he gets eligible. And I don't know where exactly Otis Reese will fit in. Although my expectation is he will fit in at star. So you can see the two pivot positions on defense that this defense is designed for them to make plays. That's the buck position and the star position. They usually line up on opposite sides of the field, and one of those is designed to make the play. I mean, that's what they do. They want to force you to one of two players. And those guys are going to use those guys to blitz. They're going to use those guys to drop back in coverage. And it's the linchpins of this defense. And you have Lakeem Henry and Jacquez Jones and Momo Sanogo at Will and Mike. So at linebacker, we are set. We just are set. There's no real way to get around it. Now, defensive line's a little bit of a problem. The backup to T. Tisdale is Ryder Anderson. The starter is Ryder Anderson. So there could be a situation if T. Tisdale goes down, you're affected there and three technique because you lost a starter. So it could be a double trouble injury type situation. If Ryder Anderson goes down, you've lost basically your starter at three technique and your backup at defensive end. So, but if T. Tisdale goes down, the way it's set up currently, two players it's going to affect two spots on your two deep. So be prepared for that. All right, we going down to the specialists. Jerry and Ely, kick return. Elijah Moore, punt return. Luke Logan won the kicker job. Mac Brown won the punter job. Kickoff, Luke Logan. Long snapper, Jack Probst, and holder, Mac Brown. So that is the first depth chart, the first that we have been able to even visualize it since the Egg Bowl. There's a printed out copy of it up at our Facebook page. You can look at it there at facebook.com/POMcast and kind of make your own choices. Also, third string tight end, or actually there's an or, so second string tight end, I guess. Casey Kelly, Chad Kelly's little brother. So that's pretty cool. But the main thing we need to take away from this depth chart is a couple of players like Ja'Cory Hawkins, who had been mired over the last couple of years, made a move under this system. They really did. Dalen Gill, he obviously had a great camp. They didn't talk about him much. It's going to be worth keeping an eye on. Tavius Robinson from Canada, obviously a high ceiling guy. And this is without Dean Leonard and Otis Reese, who could be two starters. If and when they are declared eligible, which, like I said, I think Dean Leonard will probably be there before this weekend. Otis Reese will be a little bit of a wait. These kids have been practicing. It's not a situation where they really miss time. It's just a situation with the decision making. But that's two of your defense where they would likely start. It's worth keeping an eye on. It really is. But what am I looking forward to from the depth chart? I really want to see Kenny Yeboah. I want to see Henry Parrish a lot now, because him being listed as an or with Jerry and Ely that's special territory whenever you get listed there. I want to see Dalen Gill. I want to see Ja'Cory Hawkins. I mean, all the experience last year, I think it should help them. But that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking forward that we're better in the kicking game. Last year was a disaster. Most kicking games around the country are currently a disaster. So, if we're a little better there, we'll see. Coming back, segment 3, POMcast. Stick around.
You want to answer that, don't you? I bet it's just killing you seeing the soft glow just inches away. Someone wants to tell you something or ask you something. Oh, come on, answer it already! Just so we're clear, that wasn't my fault. Next time, ignore your inner voice. Don't text and drive. A message from Florida's trusted choice independent insurance agents.
Hey, this is Stephen Willis. I just want you to stick around a little longer. We're going to get back to the podcast right after these messages.
Tonight, nearly 40,000 veterans across the country are homeless. These men and women have pledged to serve our nation, and now we must serve them. Landlords across the country have helped make significant progress in reducing veteran homelessness by making housing available, but there is more that we can do to bring our veterans home. Visit www.va.gov/homeless to see how you can get involved. And if you are a veteran and you are experiencing homelessness, please call 877-4AID-VET. Thank you.
All right, let's get going on Florida offense versus Ole Miss defense. But first, follow us on Twitter at @TheStephenWillis or at Ole Positively. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/POMcast, POMcast. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Hit the bell for notifications and follow us on our Twitch channel. If you have an audio thing, we're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud. I mean, basically every podcatcher's out there, we're probably on it. So we're here for you. We're here to do this a little bit differently. We are willing to basically split our army because life has become so niche that they miss people intentionally because they don't know where to go. Right now, like if you go to the Weatherman at 247 at Rivals, I mean, how do you know about those sites? But this one is designed to be where you are. We're not going to ask you to go to the second location. We're not going to extort you for money. Everything's going to be free on this site. So that's a pretty cool deal. And also, we're not going to play by the rules of the Oxford echo chamber. So, Florida offense versus Ole Miss defense. We've gone over Ole Miss's defense in those two pivot positions, and the DBs are coming back and getting healthy and could get better if Otis Reese and Dean Leonard are cleared. We expect Dean Leonard. We don't really expect Otis Reese for some reason. But it is what it is. Now, Dan Mullen is the offensive coordinator of Florida, and what they run is a version of the power spread, the same offense they ran at Mississippi State. This offense will look like 2012, I think it was, Tyler Russell. That's what the offense should look like optically to the casual fan. A lot of drop back passing. You have a passer at quarterback. Now, he's a big boy, and they're going to do a little bit of power running with him. But you have a big boy at that position. Why does that matter? Well, that matters on 3rd and short, 4th and 1. That matters in short yardage in the tight red zone. Wide receivers, they have a little bit of a hole to fill because a lot of their guys moved on, including, I think, a couple in the league. So that's something to look at when you have an offense that is drop back passing. And they struggled running the ball last year because that offense that they run relies so much on the quarterback run. It does. It opens up a second avenue for the running back based on the quarterback at 260 pounds pounding up the middle. It's the Tim Tebow offense. It's the same thing. Now, if those two things are working generally, you can run it up the middle or hand it to the running back outside, or you can play action and hit the tight end, who in this case is Kyle Pitts, and it's an all-SEC player. So that's worth keeping an eye on. That's worth looking for, because that's a basic path for success of the Florida offense, especially against the defense that none of us know what to expect. I mean, last year, the defense was pretty good. A lot of the same players are back. Makes me think the defense, once they're all there, will be pretty good. But I can't confirm that they will be pretty good. Until I see it, I don't know. Are we going to be able to stop the power run game? The staple in the SEC for decades. I mean, KD Hill is a big boy. 320 pounds, 6'1". He's a true nose guard. Now, you will see this defense for Ole Miss. It's listed on the depth chart as defensive end, defensive tackle, nose tackle, and buck. Why do they do that? Well, it's because it's a very multiple system, and everything depends on what that buck and what that star lines, how they line up. You move Ryder Anderson to the other 3 technique with T. Tisdale, and you've got a 3-4 defense. Same as last year. Actually, it's more of a 3-3-5, but Jay Stanley and Dalen Gill, they're big enough to play that hybrid role. So it's worth keeping an eye on, because when it comes to this defense, we really don't know what to expect. They could be quite good. They could be pretty bad. We also don't know about COVID, who are the players that are out, because we are expecting players to be out, because they announced that 6 players inside the quarantine window caught it. They put a moratorium on reporters being able to put pictures of the game or a scrimmage up for a week. Either that or the reporter just sat on it for a week, which I don't understand that at all. It's something else. It really is. We are getting ready to embark on a journey that is pretty special. 10-game SEC season. We start late, which, by the way, we should start this late every year. Going outside and feeling the chill in the air and knowing that football is coming, it feels right. Play a 10, 11 game season every year. Up the SEC games from 8 to 9. Put a Power 5 opponent in there and play an FCS opponent. I think I'm very charitable in that regard, because those bye games fund their athletic department, and people get opportunities because they exist. So I'm all about keeping those up. But Competition Tuesday in the books. I'll see you tomorrow.